emails. This way they're not popping up on us. Okay. Well, today I decided to use Boeing's, and what we have on the agenda for today is going to be how to customize the reports, specifically like the Manage Overview screen. We'll go through creating PM and how to create a basic inspection. And then if we have time, we'll go through how to run the inspection and view the results. So I'm going to go ahead and log into Boeing's. And I'm going to go to the Manage Overview. Pretty much every screen that you see on Sprocket is a report. So there's a couple ways to get to it. You can get to it by going to whatever report you want to change. In this case, my Manage Overview. Or you can go through Reporting and Reports and then find the Manage Overview screen, or the Manage Overview report. So what this report is, it is a display board that we have at Boeing. It's a digital board. We have a large TV that's set up with all the current work orders. And what we want to do on it is sort it by the highest priority, which we don't have right now. So that's what I'm going to kind of use for this training. But to edit the report, it's pretty easy actually. Depending on how your permissions are set up, if yours gives you an error, just let me know and I'll get them fixed. But you should have an edit button on the top right-hand side of most of your pages. Now, if you click on Edit, it'll take you into Edit the Report. When you initially click on it, you see up here are all the items that you can search by. Whenever you click Search on the top left-hand side of Manage Overview, you can search by a work order number or an employee or a location. You see I've moved some of it off at Boeing because we didn't want to see it. Comments we didn't want, target completion date, PO number. And to do that, all you have to do is, like, we're not using work types there. So I can click on work type and drag it down into the gray box and let it go. After you do that, down here toward the bottom, see I scrolled down and I have a Save Page button. You click on Save Page and that's going to remove it from the search, which I will show you in just a minute. So it brings us back here, and if I click Search, I had work type here. Work type's not here anymore because we removed it. So you can clean up these search screens. I know if you haven't changed them, by default there's a whole lot of information in here, and most of it you're probably not using. So it just kind of clutters the screen. Next, to edit the actual report. Now I know I showed y'all this once before, but we'll go through it again. Each individual user can have these in their own order. So for me, maybe what's really important to me is the adjusted escalation score, and I want to see it on the far left. You can click on it and drag it to the left, and then when you release it, it's going to go ahead and move it on your screen. Now this can be different for every user. If you change it on yours, it didn't change it on anybody else's. It's only for your login. So everyone's can look different from this aspect. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to add columns or remove columns if you want, and change the order that all this stuff is in. So we're going to click Edit again. And this link is really kind of hard to see, but it's down next to the bottom of the page, and just above the Save Page button, you see we have a small link that says Edit Report. We're going to click on Edit Report, and that is going to take us into the report editor itself. Now, whatever you change here does change for everybody, everybody on your site. So this initial page just gives us the name of it. If you wanted to change the name, you could, or the description. I don't really know why you would want to do that, but if you wanted to, you could. The next tab over, you see we have report columns now. I'm going to click on report columns, and these are the columns that are showing up in our report. You see here are all of them that we were showing. If you remember going from left to right, we had work order, the date it was opened, notes, the location, location description, adjusted escalation score, time posted, and the craft. Now, if you wanted to reorganize them for everyone, you could do that here by clicking on it and then clicking an up arrow or down arrow as applicable. So you see I'm moving the craft up, and now if I were to say that the craft would be in between location description and adjusted escalation score. Now, if you wanted to add more columns, to it, you do that over here on the left-hand side. Now you see there's a whole lot of options here, and it can be a little bit overwhelming when you're looking at it. But if you know basically what you want to add. So I'm going to click on the preview button. You can click preview at any time to see what it looks like. It gives you the search screen by default. And I don't want to search for anything, so I'm just going to click submit. And it's going to give me a 10-line preview of what my Manage Overview looks like. So here I'm looking at it, and I got to think about what's really important to me. I have the work order number. I have the date it was opened, the notes, the location, location description, crafts, escalation, and time posted. Another piece of information I would want on here is what employee is assigned to that work order. So I'm going to add the employee column. So I go back to report columns, and I'm going to go ahead and find the employee. Now, I will post this out there for everybody. This next piece is going to be a little bit confusing. Common sense would tell you that the employee is the employee field, but it is in fact not. It is called person. There's 3 different persons. There's person 1, person 2, and I guess 4. There's a person 3 is who requested the work order, and I don't want to know the last 2 because I never use them. But I do know what I want it to be on here is the employee's username. So if I type username, it'll filter everything down to where I only have the usernames. Okay, sorry, there was only 3. But what I want is the person username, which is going to be the employee assigned to the work order. So I click on it, and then I'll give it the arrow to the right-hand side, which will put it in my column. See, it now put it at the bottom, so it's going to be on the far right. So I'm going to go ahead and preview just to make sure that it is what I'm looking for. And I'm going to submit without any information in here again, just so it shows me 10. And here I do see these are my employees, so these are good usernames, and these are the employees that are assigned the work order. So looking at this, I can see I have a work order here with no employee assigned to it, and I can kind of see who's got my high priority work orders. Oh, speaking of high priority, that would be another column I would want, is the priority column. So I'm going to add that as well. So I'm going back to report columns, and I want to add priority. So I'm going to type priority. You see there's 3 options here. The request priority would be the priority that is assigned to the request code. So if by default you said all electrical work orders are a high priority, then that's the value that would go there if you selected that one. But maybe you modified it when you put the work order in for the work order dot priority, which that is a good tool there. The only issue with it is it's going to show you a number and not the alphanumeric value that we're used to seeing, which would be 1 emergency. That is priority.name. So you're looking for, typically if you want it to be normal human brain word, it's going to be whatever it is .name or whatever it is whatever it is. So sometimes these are aliased as name, but it might be priority.priority. They're synonymous, they're the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and move it to the right because I do want to see the priority on these work orders. And then I'm going to preview it again. I like to preview it as I'm adding things just so I can make sure that I'm adding what I really want to see. Okay, so I actually don't see any priorities, which leads me to believe these may not have an assigned priority, so I'll go back and check them later. But for the speed of this, that is how you do it, and yours should be showing you things. I am going to go back to report columns, though. You notice that the column names were, for the employee, it was username, and for priority, it was name. I don't like that. I want it to say employee, and I want it to say priority. So what you do is you simply double-click on what you want to change. So I'm going to change this username to say employee. You see right here it has the column, which is person.username, and then it has the alias. The alias is what you want to change to whatever you want it named. I'm just going to rename it to employee. And if you click out of here, you'll see a little yellow box pop up. There it was, says saved successfully. So I'm just going to go ahead and save and exit to speed us up through this part, but you could preview it again and see that it did indeed change to employee, which we will see as soon as it loads back up, because it's going to take me back to the Manage Overview screen. For Sprocket is we just purchased a brand new Sprocket server, so hopefully we'll see some improved performance. Okay, so here it is. You can see the column name did change from username to employee, which is what I wanted. And then if we look down the priority column, I see there are some priorities put in. So these work orders are just missing priorities. Oh, actually, I'm going to go back in and edit because I said that I wanted to display these based on the adjusted escalation score. So I'm going to reorder this report. So I'm going to edit, and then I'm going to go to edit report again. And then from the tabs that are up top, we were in report columns. Now I'm going to go over to ordering. There's an ordering tab. You can set what column you want to order by, and you can do it by ascending or descending values. And I always forget whether it is ascending or descending. So I am going to just pick one, and hopefully it's right. Now I know it was adjusted escalation score, so I started typing adjust. There it is. I'm going to move it to the right-hand side. And I'm not sure why these two are in here, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of them and move them off. And hopefully ascending is the right way. So we'll go ahead and save and exit again. And hopefully those with the highest adjusted escalation scores are going to be on top. Now, I covered adjusted escalation scores once before, but what that's composed of is the work type, who generated it, a piece of equipment, a location, and the target end date. You see I selected the wrong one, so I should have done descending, not ascending. It put the zeros on top and then the higher numbers on the bottom. So I'll change that after this class. The next thing that we want to cover is how to create a PM. Now, PMs are created in Sprocket under the Scheduling tab. So we're going to click on Scheduling, and you see we have PM projects, scheduled report, which we'll cover in a later session, and scheduled events, again, we'll cover it in a later session. But we're going to go to PM projects because that's what we want to create. So once this comes up, we'll be able to see all the PM projects. You could go in and edit them if you wanted to, just by clicking on the PM project number. But we are going to create a new one from scratch. So if you wanted to edit this GORE generator, you would simply click on it, and it would open up. So we're going to click on New PM Project. And you'll see all the same screens you would see. But for the name, I'm going to test air handler. So we have that in, and the next thing we have to put is what date do we want to enable this. So you can create a work order that's going to be based on a future date. Also, the recurrence type. If you're putting the PM in here, you probably want it to be automatic. You could do manual if you wanted to. I'm not sure what value that would be to anybody, but we're going to go ahead and say we want it to enable on Friday, the 20th. And if we wanted to put a disable date, we could. And this emulate sequencing, what this is if we have two schedules for the same piece of equipment. For instance, if we had a PM that was done on an air handler, we have a quarterly PM where we want them to change the air filter, check for abnormal vibrations, sounds, etc. And we have an annual PM for these air handlers where we want them to go ahead and change the belts. And we want to change the air filter, maybe lube it up some. If you have two of them that generate on the same day, so say they're generating on the 1st of the month, and once a quarter they're going to generate, and then every January 1st is when your annual PM is going to generate. They will both generate at the same time unless you check this emulate sequencing box. Now what this will tell it to do is take the one that reoccurs the least amount annually. So it would take the annual PM and it would discard the quarterly PM. So you would use this if the annual PM includes everything that's in the quarterly PM plus some additional. Otherwise, you wouldn't want to do a quarterly and an annual, or you're just wasting your time doing the quarterly. We're going to click Next. The next thing it asks us for is what pieces of equipment do we want to perform this PM on. I am going to just select, and AHU will go to 17, and it added it. If I wanted to add another one, we could go ahead and type AHU again, and there we go. We'll add it to 17 and 19 is what this PM generate on. So this will generate 2. Yes, ma'am?
It froze. Mine's not gone. It's still only on the first AHU you put in.
Okay, mine's it's thinking. It hasn't added the second one yet. I wonder if my okay. Did it come back up? Now mine's showing 2.
Now, there you go.
Okay. Thank you. So now we have 2 pieces of equipment. It's going to generate 2 separate work orders whenever the schedule hits. So we've got the pieces of equipment we wanted, so we're going to click Next. And now we are to the schedule. So we're going to set the schedule that we want these PMs to generate. I'm going to click Add a new PM project on Schedule. I'm going to name this one Quarterly. The next thing we do is select the start date. So I am going to go ahead and select the date. I want this to start tomorrow. If you want lead days, what lead days does is stick the PM out in the system a certain number of days before it's due. I don't really like this. If you like it, you can use it. But, so if I'm going to say the PM is due on the 20th of every quarter, and you put a 7-day lead time, then it will up and Sprocket on the 13th of every quarter prior to the due. And then the next thing we do is set the recurrence. How often do we want it to reoccur? And we're going to do monthly, because I said it's going to be quarterly. So we're going to set it to be on the 20th day every 3 months. And if you wanted to set an end date, again, you can do that here, but we're not going to. And I'm going to save the schedule. So that just did its scheduled quarterly PM. It's going to come out on the 20th every 3 months. Now I do want to add an annual PM. What I will do, we'll do it on, we'll say, maybe the 3rd. And we're going to tell this we want it on the 20th of every 12 months. Oh, and I need to change the name of that. Annual PM. So now we have 2 schedules. And that's what I was talking about, where on the 3rd, would be the next quarter, it's only going to generate the annual PM. It's not going to generate both the annual and the quarterly until the annual is sequencing. I'm going to click on Next. The next thing you have to put are the requests. You can put a different request for each schedule. So you select the quarterly, and then what we're selecting is the PMs. I hope the names AHU. They are. So you see this, here's an annual PM, here's a quarterly PM, so I'm going to select the quarterly PM. And these are done, I previously showed you the work. So that's going to be the work requested for the quarterly PMs. Now I'm going to set one for annual PMs. And I'm going to select this annual PM. And all we have to do is save and exit now. We have created a PM generate quarterly for those 2 air handlers, 2 request codes that we set. Now the request codes, one of them real quick just to show it to you, but administration, work management, request. I'm getting a little bit of when I think you might have us on speaker. If you could just mute your phone. There we go. Okay, so here are the request codes. So I'm going to look for those air handler ones that I just used. And we're going to see what's going to come out on the work order. So this is the quarterly PM that we just told it to generate on the 20th of every 3 months. And this is the information that will come out on the PM. So down in the printout, you see check air filters, clean or replace if clogged or dirty, check fan bearings, grease line connections, et cetera, et cetera. So this is where you set what information is going to come out on the PM. It's in the request code that you tied to that piece or to that schedule in the PM projects. Okay, did everyone understand this piece of it? The PMs are kind of complicated, I know. Okay. I assume everyone understands. So the next thing we're going to do is create a basic inspection. Now the inspection, most of you are primarily using them for EVS or some sort of QA, which is what we'll make right here going for this presentation. So we're going to go to Inspections, Inspection Manager, and this will show you all the inspections that are already there. Please do not edit an inspection that you don't know what it does, because most of them serve a very distinct purpose, and all of the dispatch actions are actually inspections, and we do a lot of stuff with them. So we're going to create a new inspection now. Feel free to do this and play around with it so that you know what you're doing. And we're going to make a office QA inspection. I'm going to put the same thing for the name and the description. I'm going to open the inspection editor. And once we're here, the first thing you have to do is create a question group. It's a little bit different. So for question group, you have to double-click on question group over here. And then it's going to ask you to put a name. I'm going to call it Office Questions. And submit. And what this does is it adds a box here. Now a question group will appear as a different page when running the inspection. So if you wanted 2 pages, you just create 2 different groups. So if I wanted to do just like office questions and then maybe restroom questions, if every office had a restroom tied to it, I could create a second group to put the bathroom questions in. So we're going to create our first question, and we do that by dragging the question box into the question group that we want to put it in. And then you drop it. And it's pretty simple. So we just have to put our question text. So I'm going to put employee name, because I want to know what employee cleaned the room. Here under answer type, we have a couple of options. We have free text, money, double, percent, integer, date, answer list is drop-down, radio button, a file upload, or comments. We're going to leave it as free text. The user's going to be able to type in the employee's name. And if you wanted to put a default value, you could do that here. You could enter D powers if you wanted it to always say D powers. I don't want it to though, because I want them to enter it. So I'm going to click submit now. And you see it added an employee name box. The next thing I'm going to add to it, I'm going to drag another question over and drop it, is going to be room number. I want to know what room they were checking. And then here, for the answer type, I'm going to put integer. Now, an integer is a number, but it's a non-decimal number. Double is going to be a decimal number, so if you wanted to do 1.2, that's a double. However, I know room numbers are not done in decimals, so I'm going to tell it an integer. Now this prevents them from typing anything abnormal like RM203 instead of just 203, which will help a lot in reporting in the future. So we're going to have them put in the room number. The next thing I'm going to have them do is we're going to look at the light fixtures. Now for the light fixtures, I would just want the options for them to select satisfactory, unsatisfactory, or not applicable. So I'm going to select a radio button. I like radio buttons. Those are the options with the little bubbles. I'm going to click Answer List as Radio Group. And then there's several pre-programmed lists in here. If you see one that you like,
your screen is locked up. The screen's locked up again.
Okay, what do you see?
You're still back on the. Okay, there it is.
Okay. So we're going to click on choose an answer list, and we will scroll through and look for the one that we want. Like I said, I want it to say satisfactory, unsatisfactory. So here's one, satisfactory or unsatisfactory. So I'm just going to click on it. And we should see some answers pop up here, which I don't. So that means someone didn't create this answer list right. So we'll say satisfactory or need service. Okay. Oh, there they are. Okay, so we have satisfactory or need service now. If we wanted to add another answer, we could. So if I wanted to add terrible, you could type it, click on add answer, and I guess it liked NA better than terrible. Oh, it went back to the first one I selected, which was the satisfactory, unsatisfactory. So I am going to recreate it. The computer's acting a little buggy. And tell it radio group. I wanted satisfactory or unsatisfactory. And it does have the NA in it, so that's good. That is what I want. Now I'm going to click submit. So now we have another question with the buttons, unsatisfactory, satisfactory, or NA. Now the deal with radio buttons is you can only click one of them. It won't let you click two. Checkboxes will allow you to click two. But I'm going to add another question. And in this question, I will have baseboards. And maybe for baseboards, I want them to rate it 1 through 10, 1 being clean, 10 being unclean. Actually, I am lying. Sprocket has taken too long to load. So we're just going to go with this for now. But you get the idea. Play around with it some. If you want drop-downs, it's the drop-down option. If you want a big comment block for the user to type in, select the comment block. But I'm going to go ahead and exit. There is no save on the inspection builder. It saves it as you go. So now I'm back at the inspection manager, and you can see the Office QA inspection. I'm going to run it by simply clicking on it. So if I'm checking out your office, and all I'm really inspecting right now is the lighting fixtures, but man, Sprocket's running really slow for me today. Again, I'm at the mercy of the wireless here at Air Force Village. So when it's running good, it seems like it's doing fine, but whenever it slows down, I'm getting some of this. Okay, so here's the inspection. It opened up. I'm going to say the employee was me, D. Powers, if I can spell my name right. And then I'm going to put the room number, again, 203. And if I try to put a decimal 1, see, it doesn't do the decimal. It just added a 1, which is not what I wanted. And I'm going to say it was unsatisfactory work. So I fill that out, I click submit, and it's going to take me back to the inspections after I click OK. And then if you wanted to check the results of the inspection, you go to the inspection manager, and you see over here, this inspection's been run one time, and I want to view the history. So you click on view history, and this will show you the results of the inspection. So you get QA office inspection, the date it was run, who the inspector was, and how they filled it out. I filled it out on the web. So you click on it, and this gives you the details. So the employee that did the work was D. Powers. It was room 203, and the lighting was unsatisfactory. You can see the time it was completed, which was 3 minutes ago. And we're going to cut this off for now. And next week, I will, or later today, I'll send you out the topics for next week. Everyone else will free to stay or free to go. I'll just keep this session up so don't disconnect from me. maybe.
Well, I don't need the session. I just have a couple questions about some issues we've been having.